Today, we will discuss the sine function first. But before we proceed, we need to know first the general equation. So here is the general equation. We have y equals a sine times the quantity of bx plus c plus d, where the a is the amplitude. And the B is the period. And in this equation we can get the phase shift. And the vertical shift, which is the letter D. After we know the general equation, we can now solve the first equation, which is the y equals 3 sine times the quantity of 2x minus pi over 3 plus 4. In this equation, we can now determine the amplitude, the period, the phase shift, and the vertical shift, which we discussed earlier. So the amplitude of this equation is 3. Then, in getting the period, we have the formula, which is 2 pi over b. We can see that the b is 2, so we have now 2 pi over b, which is 2. So now we can cancel out the same number, which is 2, and the pi will remain as is. And this is our period. In order to get the phase shift, we can equate this equation into 0. So we have 2x minus pi over 3 equals 0. To get the value of x, we can transpose negative pi over 3 into pi over 3. So we have 2x equals pi over 3. And now, we can see that the x is still have the coefficient, which is 2. So we can divide it both sides by 2. Cancel out the 2. Then the remaining is x equals pi over 3 divided by 2, or we can multiply it by the reciprocal of the divisor, which is we have 1/2. So our x now is pi times 1 equals pi, then 3 times 2 equals 6. So this is our phase shift. And in getting the vertical shift, we can follow the general equation, in which we can get it in the last number after the phase shift. So we have 4. Then, after getting the amplitude, the period, the phase shift, and the vertical shift, we can now proceed to the endpoint for our graph.
Go.
In getting the endpoint, we can just add the phase shift, which is pi over 6, the period, which is pi. To solve this equation, we can put over 1 in the pi as the denominator. And now we can see that this equation is the similar fraction. So first we can do is to get the LCD, which is 6. Now we have pi over 6 plus 6 pi over 6. Now we can add it since it is similar fraction already. And now the answer is pi plus 6 pi equals 7 pi over 6. And now this is our endpoint for our graph. So after that, we can write the domain, which is negative infinity and positive infinity. And the range, which we can get it into the minimum and maximum. So we need to solve the minimum and maximum first before getting the range. In getting minimum, we need to subtract the vertical shift, which is 4, and the amplitude, which is 3. So 4 minus 3 equals 1. And the maximum, in getting the maximum, we need to add the vertical shift, which is 4, and the amplitude, which is 3. So 4 plus 3 equals 7. So now, we can already write our range, which is the 1 and 7.
After getting these all solutions or answers, we can now proceed for our graphing. In finding the points, we can write the starting point, which is our phase shift, the pi over 6, and we have the endpoint, which is 7 pi over 6. In finding the remaining points, we need to add the starting and the end point we have. So pi over 6 plus 7 pi over 6 is equals to 8 pi over 6. Or we can reduce it into the lowest term, which is the 4 pi over 3. And then divide it into 2, or multiply the reciprocal of the divisor. We have 4 pi over 3 multiplied by 1/2. So we have the answer of 4 pi over 6, or 2 pi over 3. And we can put it into the center of our point. After getting this point between the starting and the center point, so now we can put the 2 pi over 3 here in our center. And the starting point is the phase shift, pi over 6, and the period is 7 pi over 6. So to get the answer, so after we gathered all the starting point, center, and the end point, now we can proceed finding the answer of this point. So to get the answer of this point, we have to add the pi over 6 and 2 pi over 3. The answer is 5 pi over 6. And we have to divide it into 2. So the answer is 5 pi over 12. Next, same procedure as we do here. So to get this point, we have to add the 2 pi over 3 and the endpoint 7 pi over 6. So the answer is 11 pi over 6. And we have to divide it into 2 so we can get the 11 pi over 12.
So now we can proceed making to our graph since we have already discussed the vertical shift and the amplitude earlier, where we can use it in our graphing. First, we need to draw the y and x axis. And next is we cannot numbers in y-axis by our minimum and maximum. We can have the positive 1 until 7. And next is we can point out the vertical shift, which is 4, so we can create broken lines to determine that is our vertical shift. And we can put our points that we solved earlier. We have pi over 6, 5 pi over 12, 2 pi over 3, 11 pi over 12, and 7 pi over 6. And then we can draw a line or point out the starting point until the end point. But before that, we must not forget our amplitude, which is 3. From the vertical shift, we can count 3 upward and downward since 3 is our amplitude. So here. And now we can put dots in our points and then connect it. That's it. This is our graph, the graph of the equation.